Hey everyone, Wanderbots here, and welcome to our twice annual PAX video where we talk about,
We tend
I
to go to
guess,
PAX East and West.
yeah, so we go to PAX twice a year, once to West because we live a couple hours south of it, and once to East. I guess technically East happens first in the year. You know what, whatever. Anyway,
That's because his family lives outside of Boston, and it's nice to be able to visit at the same time.
Yeah, so it's like an hour in by public transportation, and that is absolutely lovely. For getting in, getting around, and going to a con without having to spend hundreds of dollars on hotel fees, because that gets really pricey.
Yeah, we were able to stay with my cousin.
Yeah, this time around. So for those of you that don't know, PAX is a gaming convention, happens in the US. PAX West is in Seattle, PAX East is in Boston, and PAX South is in San Antonio, Texas. There we go. So we've done South once. We might do it again at some point. I'm not sure when.
We don't really know anyone in Texas, so...
Yeah, it's a bit of a long trip for us to effectively go to the same convention. There are differences between them, but like...
Yeah, there's differences in venue, differences in, like, just the spaces that they have allocated for everything and whatnot.
Games, presentation, parties, mixers, a bunch of things.
This was the first year we actually attempted to go to more...
Yeah, so for... Usually what I do is I go to the convention, wander around, see everything, and then be like, cool, now I'm just going to go hang out. But this is the first PAX that I've ever actually done any major, like, exploration. Beyond just, like, well, exploration, networking, I guess would be the better word.
You did sign up for a lot more scheduled meetings.
Yeah, well, I think I scheduled about the same number of meetings as PAX East.
I wasn't present for that, though, until last day.
Yeah, and... that was fun, but it was stressful. I found myself running from one side of the convention hall to the next. And I kind of did the same this time around, but it was worth it just because those like booths were absolutely packed and I had no way of playing the games beforehand without. And we can actually talk about those when we get there. But I guess for starters, do we want to just start going down the list of things that we found and things that were interesting?
Sure. I mean, essentially what we have picked up here, we have a whole bunch of business cards and merchandise and stuff strewn about the table.
We've got swag. Anyway, we'll talk about that when we get there. We've just got a mash of games. It's not really organized by favorites, though these are the things that stood out to us. There are a number of games that I don't actually have business cards and such for.
There were a number of games that you had already played before, or things that were already on our radar that we didn't pick up things for because we knew that we were going to play them.
So, for example, one of the first things I did was I went to the Undermine booth at the Indie Mega booth, and I got to hang out with them and talk with them for a little while. But, you know, I didn't really need their business card or any buttons or anything like that, because I think I already had it from PAX East. And also, I mean, I've played it. I think episode 17 just went out on YouTube like an hour ago or something like that. So, let's mostly save this for the new and interesting, kind of, sort of. So, I guess, not exactly new and interesting. I'm going to break my promise almost immediately. So one of the first people we ran into at the convention, though he was way too busy for me to actually say hi.
That's because they were having a competition.
Yeah, is we actually got to meet Chimeric from Nova Drift. For those of you that don't know, Nova Drift is it's asteroids, but like super souped up. And with a whole bunch of extra mechanics and guns and so on and so forth.
You get to select things as you go along.
Yeah. So it's asteroids plus like Path of Exile plus some roguelike stuff. It's neat, and you get like huge branching variety in what you do. But so he had a little kiosk at the indie mini booth, and he was running a competition to see who could get the highest score for the weekend. Now, he was only there for 2 days, so it's only 2 days of high score collecting.
And he was definitely aiming to get that top spot.
Yeah, I honestly don't care, and I feel a bit bad for snagging.
You were hogging the station for a little while.
I got people to watch, though. Like, people would come by and I would just, like, talk about the mechanics and my decisions and so on and so forth. Like, I was doing a live Let's Play, just slightly less off-topic. And so,
he gave us little stickers.
Yep, he gave us cute little stickers. They're a little bit washed out. There we go. My light is right behind the camera, and so it's a little bright. But so yeah, we got cute little stickers. And so the first day, I think I got a high score of like 115,000, which realistically, that's not a bad score, but it's not a great score either. I think you're under a guy
that was 140.
Yeah.
And then the next day, you decided to come in and...
Apparently, yeah. So the first day, the guy just randomly come in and was just like, cool, this game looks fun. I'm going to play it. And he managed to get a pretty high score, like 240,000. Which was
240.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like, he did really well for a first-timer. Like, way, way better than most people do. And so that was kind of fun. And then the second day when we went in, I stopped by the booth and more or less played for half an hour. I think it took me like 3 tries-ish. But I ended up getting a score of 388,640, which I think might actually be my personal best. If not, my personal best is very close. But it was a damn good score, and I can safely say nobody even came close to beating that score over the
Wait, I thought it was convention. Over 300.
It was 388,000.
Oh, 388.
Yeah,
wow.
Which was nuts, and I'm very proud of myself just because.
What kind of build were you using?
Barrage railgun.
Oh,
with splinter shots. Yeah. Speaking of Nova Drift, I might as well mention that there. Wild Mods is going to be out at the end of September, unless it gets pushed back.
Wild Mods?
Or Wild Metamorphosis. It's effectively a content pack that adds like 30-something new mods to the game that modifies like.
I wonder how you balance all that. It must be rigorous.
You don't. He's going to balance it after the fact, probably. He's just making sure it works and is fun, and that for me is important because I'm looking forward to it, and so I'll be starting that up again. I guess when that patch comes out, I'm looking forward to it. Anyway.
I suppose if you're reaching for that card, might as well reach for the button too, because if you guys don't know, PAX has a plethora of buttons at pretty much every booth. Not all the booths had them, but the majority do.
So the next game we ran into is Lumote, which was like right next to it, but it's a 3D puzzle platformer. It's very neon.
The girl that had the booth, she had made a number of crocheted and also felted.
Darned.
Yeah, like the felted.
Yeah.
Where you use the needle to push a bunch of felt together. Yeah, she had made a couple of these. I don't know if they were having a raffle or something else. If you
signed up and wishlisted the game, they would. Oh, I should remember to wishlist. It might be too late.
It might be too late for the
It's not the end of the world, but
yeah, it's really cute. The premise of the game is that you're this little globule creature. He looks really cute. And there's this nefarious entity with this magenta light that is like at a core.
Yeah, and it's like taking over the entire world, and you're effectively biohacking everything with power nodes to push it back.
And it makes everything blue when you take over.
And it's very pretty. I usually don't touch 3D puzzle platformers, but
it's a lot of floating platforms, but you extend bridges, you lift these sort of like flower pods.
It's clever. Mm-hmm. I liked it. Let's see. I guess really actually, you know what we saw before we even ran into Nova Drift and Lumote? I totally forgot.
Well,
so
we're going to go through these.
Well, sort of, but I'm trying to keep this kind of in a linear fashion, if only because it's currently available in a linear fashion in front of us. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so one thing about PAX is there's the media hour. Now, PAX East only had media hour on the very first day. PAX West had media half hours every day. So you could get in and get access to things a little bit earlier than everybody else, skip the line, skip the crowd. And
the fire marshal was taking their time the first day, so everyone was a little upset about that.
Yeah, so Thursday we didn't get in early at all, which kind of sucked because it was like, well...
They have to make sure that there are exit routes.
We showed up like an hour early and it still wasn't enough because, it wasn't open yet. It makes sense, but it was annoying.
I wonder where the mask went. It's downstairs, isn't it?
Who cares? We got a Borderlands Psycho mask. They hand them out to everybody in preparation for Borderlands 3. For people that are inevitably going to ask, I'm not sure if I'm going to play Borderlands 3. I like the games, I just don't care that much. They're nice, but
I'd like to actually play a game in which, play a session of Borderlands where I can keep track of the story as we go along.
Yeah, so Shell and I might play it ourselves, or we don't really know. But yeah, so while the crowds were still kind of mingling in, we managed to rush to 2 different booths that were actually really cool. Specifically, one was called Forgone, which is... Here, I'm going to get it a little closer. There we go. That's actually pretty good. Mm-hmm. So Forgone is a 2D... It's a 3D side-scrolling, but it's I don't even remember. Pixel butchered? That's not the right term for it.
It was 3D models that had pixels.
Yeah, they ran it through a filter to make it look like sprite work, which is really cool. And I made kind of an ass out of myself because I was like, oh, that's really impressive. And they're like, oh, it's 3D. And I'm like, that's less impressive. It's bad.
No, you don't want to say that.
Yeah, because it's one of those where like the animation was so smooth.
They were having the characters twirling about, and it would have taken a lot of work.
If it had been pixel art, it would have been some of the best pixel animation I've ever seen because it was so smooth. And it's like, oh, it's 3D. Okay, well, that's really clever, and I like that. But I was really hoping that they had like super pixel wizards on their team. Anyway, so it looks cool. I don't know too much about it, but it had a nice style, and it reminded me of like Dead Cells-ish.
She was fighting, I think, a number of mechanical
entities.
It
was like, honestly, they looked somewhere between stormtroopers and robot enemies. I'm not really sure. I didn't see too much of it because I don't like spoiling these things for myself if I can.
Yeah, he actually stopped a number of demos early because he said, oh, I don't want to continue on.
Yeah, I want to get a feel for game and say like, yeah, this is something I would cover, this is something I wouldn't, but I don't want to like get to the point where I'm like, yeah, I've played this before. Because I've done that with a number of games where I'm like, yeah, I've done this before. Recently would be RE Legend. We started over for co-op for the early access release. And since I'd already played it before, it's kind of like, well, I already know everything that's going to happen in the first like 3-4 hours. So I'm just kind of rushing through it and not really giving her room to do stuff. And so for that one...
Not to mention it was breaking.
Yeah, that too. And so for that one, it was kind of fine just because it was breaking problems. I don't know. But... it was, I don't know. I like first impressions. They're important to me. Anyway, so the other game that I did play for a little bit was a roguelike called Elsie.
Elsie.
And so they gave us a sticker and a button and maybe a business card. I'm not entirely sure. But this one is full real pixels. It's very neon. It's very pretty.
They say that she's channeling electricity or her power through the horns.
Horns, yeah.
On top of her head.
But effectively, it's a Mega Man roguelike with custom abilities that you pick up along the way and some other things. It reminded me of 20XX. A little bit more merciless, a little bit less platforming. Merciless enemies, less merciless platforming. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I'm historically terrible at Mega Man, even though, like, hilariously...
Even though it's one of your favorite series.
Yeah, Mega Man X is one of the first games I ever bought and played. And so it's kind of embarrassing that I'm so bad at them now, but they're just hard on my hands. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to that one just because of how pretty it is, but I have no idea how far I'm going to get in it. Let's see, so let's just start going down the list. At this point, I've lost the script on how we went through all of this.
I mean, we were going from booth to booth because sometimes we were backtracking. Some booths were so busy that we couldn't...
It was packed. You had to elbow your way through people sometimes, which
they were putting out tape down on the ground, the enforcers, saying, please stay within the booth.
Yeah, they were actually like shoving people in, being like, no, you have to be within the confines of this booth or you have to move on because there's no way people are going to get through normally.
Okay, so then there was a place called...
Round Guard. This is right next to the Undermine people, but it's Peggle, but a roguelike.
I think you played the guy with the axe.
Yeah, I played the dwarf with the axe. It's not the best roguelike I've ever played by a long shot, but it is by far one of the more inventive.
It was
if that
cute.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
it was very cute.
You had an attack where you could swing your axe around and you were bouncing.
So every character has a special attack. The dwarf has a axe spin that lets him move through a peggle bit, but also hit it for extra damage. There was like an archer, and I don't remember what the other ones are.
And there are enemies strewn about the levels, and you were fighting them too as you were landing on top
so there would be like
an
ogre that would be one of the pegs. And if you hit the ogre, you would hit it for X damage. It would hit you back for X damage, but you have to kill every monster on the field.
And you had a health bar too, and there were like these. You could land on spikes or like a pillow at the bottom, and and then at the very end of the levels, didn't you? There were different levels of treasure.
Yeah, so depending on which of the 5 lower slots, this is only going to make sense for people who have played Peggle, and if you haven't, it's actually a pretty good game. But so after you've cleared the board. You have 5 little slots at the bottom, and each would give a different reward, or determine where you go next. It was neat. I'm looking forward to it just because, like, unique roguelikes are few and far between, but also incredibly common, so it's kind of fun to see what people come up with. I say few and far between, but we've got a ton of unique roguelikes out right now. I love the genre, and so the more I get, the better. So I guess speaking of really busy booths, Superliminal. Some people might actually know about this. Apparently, it made its rounds on the internet a couple years ago with like
Okay.
So it was like a video or something where they shared it. And so when I walked up to talk to them for my meeting, because I had to schedule a meeting because I knew it was going to be packed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so for frame of reference, it's kind of like Stanley Parable.
Yeah, you're walking through these rooms and there are objects, but you can, say, lift up a toy dollhouse, sort of shift it to another part of the room, and when you place it down, because of the perspective, it makes it larger.
Yeah. So, like, if you put your thumb in front of your face, your hand looks much larger than when it's, like, all the way out here. Or, for perspective, you know, notice how my hand shrunk? Well, in Superliminal, instead of it receding into the distance, that is actually just scaling its size down. So you can take a tiny little block and place it against a like a wall or something,
a wall with the door
and
that's
get it progressively bigger to the point where, like, I had a chess pawn that was so big I couldn't walk through the room and got stuck for a little while. And,
oh no!
And one of the devs was laughing at me for it.
But yeah,
I was just screwing around.
And it has the kind of sort of with the whole house thing that I saw in the trailer. Opening up the door, you can actually open up the house if it's large enough.
So you've got a tiny little dollhouse, you scale it up, you go in the door, and it's a whole new zone. And so there's a lot of perspective and like mind-bending aspects to it that was really exciting, and I'm looking forward to that one. Let's see. Yeah, we're just picking them up at random. Greek, I'm only going to talk about this one for a little bit. It looks really cute. It's a Metroidvania where you play as 3 different characters.
And I thought that it was multiplayer when I first saw it at a distance.
So did I. I'd actually asked them, and I was just like, so, is this going to be multiplayer? And they're like, no. And I was like, because I've never really played a whole lot of multiplayer Metroidvanias before. There is one on the list. I didn't get a business card for it, but I can talk about it a little bit, because it was actually one of my favorites. But so you effectively have 3 characters that have different Metroidvania powers, and you have to use them in conjunction with each other to
But there are creatures that could potentially attack and kill them if you're not.
Yeah, so you have to constantly pay attention to them and, you know, use them together or use them separately. It's a neat idea. I don't know how it's going to boil down, but it, you know, I want to see how they make it work. So it's cool. It's also kind of cute. Let's see. This one, I mean, kind of go figure there or there. So I don't know why it says glitch.
Maybe that's the studio or the
Beautiful Glitch, maybe.
Or
yeah, that's the studio that made them. Anyway, so I guess I'm going to put it up again.
Is having a kind of sequel. They have
multiple.
They have new characters.
They're franchising hard. So there's Monster Prom 2. There's like a bunch of
Monster Camp is the one that they were showing off.
Yeah, and they've got a bunch of like side games too that aren't necessarily romance related. It was interesting. We talked to them for a little bit, and then they're like, "You want to play?" And I'm like, "I got other things to do."
Well,
because this is at one of the side parties, but at some point we will sit down and play Monster Prom. Probably
there are a number of visual novels, or what would you refer to them as? Romance sims or something.
Dating sims.
Dating sims. There are a number of those that we've accrued, and we just haven't gotten around to playing them. Kind of the thing that you might want to do on maybe they're not his thing.
That's my problem.
In every game that I've ever played where romance options were available, which would be Knights of the Old Republic and there's others. I'm sure. I would always flat out refuse the characters because they would hit on you awkwardly and really early on before there was any preamble to your relationship.
Not really my thing either. Sometimes I'll do like romance. Like I know in Fire Emblem we were kind of shipping the characters together, but
But speaking of other romance sims and such, there's this game which is beautiful. I think I might actually follow the artist for this one. Errant Kingdom. This was there, and it's interesting. They're advertising it as a queer game, so I think they have various relationships, doesn't matter what pronouns you are and whatnot. And they also have a story-only mode with no romance, which I wouldn't mind playing.
Yeah, so that might actually end up being a shell-only thing. But
the artwork is really pretty. I like the guy that looks like a tiefling or a demon. Everyone else seems to be humans, maybe elves. But I suppose it's going to have a lot of court intrigue, and you might have options to either aid the kingdom or destroy the kingdom. Whoop! Drops. They also gave a sticker. And this is a really pretty button. It's metallic.
Yeah, I don't care too much for the... yeah, you got it.
Sort of see. I love the moon, so... Yeah.
I don't care much for the game, but the art and branding was kind of cool for it. Let's see. So, I guess next on the list, we're just going random at this point. Code Vein. Apparently, for beating the demo, they give you like a little manga, which is kind of neat.
Wait, you beat the demo?
I got to the last inch of the boss, so they just gave this to me. I think they might have had a proper prize.
Thank goodness. Because I couldn't even get through the first... several ladders and stuff. I didn't know how to switch the weapons out.
You're going to have to put on your fighting pants because we're going to be playing that co-op together. No. Code Vein is the anime Dark Souls game. It's been in development for ages. But they had a bunch of booths, actually. Or a bunch of kiosks where you could play it. And so we both did the demo. Shell didn't get very far.
Very slow attacks.
It's very much Dark Souls inspired, very much God Eater inspired. It's got a very overt anime style, post-apocalypse, kind of weird horror monsters. Mm-hmm. I like it. The level design was interesting, but honestly, it was like the level design, at least for the vertical slice that we were playing, was less interesting than the Surge's level design, which is not a good sign.
More from falling off edges than...
You're effectively walking around just
very narrow passages
stone walkways
knocked off them.
In kind of like this weird junkyard valley. Hopefully the rest of it, is a little bit more inventive.
Games. I want forests and jungles and...
Yeah, It certainly wasn't very interesting exploring it, but the combat was interesting. There was a lot of options, a lot of consumable abilities, a lot of just everything.
There seemed to be a number of characters, too.
I wish they had started us off in a very early state of the game, not a later state of the game, or offered both, because I was immediately overwhelmed. But it seems like it's got what it needs to stand on its own compared to Dark Souls, so I'm kind of excited for it. And also multiplayer is always a big thing for me. Let's see. And moving on. This one, actually, we saw at the very end of the con. It's called Minute of Islands.
It's really cute. It looks like it's completely animated, 2D.
Yep. It's a first-person sort of platformer, but mostly adventure game. All hand-drawn, all hand-animated. A lot of puzzles. Very cute. I loved the style.
And the first thing that we saw were a bunch of jackalopes that seem to be afflicted with some kind of yellow spore substance.
Yeah, so...
Save the jackalopes.
It looked cute, and I usually don't touch point-and-click adventure games, but this is most definitely one of those exceptions. Just because, the style is so good, and the art is so good. We might as well talk about this one, too. Where's what?
I'm wondering, where's the game with the cat?
Which cat?
The Spiritfarer. We don't have anything from that?
Yeah, they didn't actually hand us anything for Spiritfarer.
Okay. Well, along the same vein, another 2D animated game, I suppose hopping from island to island and such, is Spiritfarer. And we had a scheduled appointment with them. And I believe it was the artist that we got to play the game with?
Yeah, the creative director. Mm-hmm. So, for those of you that don't know, Spiritfarer is my favorite game from E3 this past year. And it's made by Thunder Lotus, the people that made Jotun and Sundered. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
We
played Sundered a little bit together.
We played a little bit of Sundered together, and at some point I'd like to go back and finish it.
And they said for this one they wanted to deviate from a lot of the heavy combat. And
yeah, they wanted to be calmer, quieter, easier.
And also it's co-op. Woohoo!
Yeah.
So the main protagonist is a young witch.
Yeah.
And she's supposed to help spirits pass on. And spirits, they are some kind of weird amorphous form, but then eventually they turn into like an animal humanoid. And she has to help them with their unresolved feelings or business and then help them pass on.
Yep.
And the characters that we saw, there was a deer, there was a snake lady, there was a frog. The frog was funny. He liked the frog.
The frog is like, have you ever been hit by lightning? Oh boy, you better do it. And so, yeah, we did, which, I mean, realistically just gets you currency.
So you have a little cat companion, and the cat companion's animations for floating.
It's adorable. Yeah, so it puffs up like a pufferfish and floats down, but is making a balloon deflating noise the entire time, which is probably going to get annoying because it's like a 30-hour game and we're going to be doing that a lot, but it'll be worth it.
And they have something called is it the Everlight?
Yeah, the Everlight.
That is like a crystal and it can turn into different objects. Like
yeah, so fishing rods and so on and so forth, paddle. But
there's cooking?
Yeah, there's cooking.
As a mechanic.
It looks like an absolutely lovely game and I can't wait to play it. I'm actually going to get multiple chances because they're doing a beta, I believe. Unless their plans change, but we might be getting access to the beta sometime early winter. Maybe midwinter. I don't know, January, February. So I guess that's actually midwinter. But I'm looking forward to that, and then obviously we'll get to play it when it comes out. Let's see. And then I guess we got one more adventure game. We actually have a couple of adventure games that are kind of on the radar, which is kind of neat. We recently finished Gibbous, and that was actually quite lovely. These are a little bit more meditative and almost depressing, but you know what? Whatever. Anyway, so next one was Luna and the Shadow Dust. I have to like angle it, so it's kind of hard to read. But let's see.
Another 2D
animated game. Very nice hand animation. Kind of weird environment and just kind of fun.
And they said that there's no dialogue in it whatsoever. There's no text.
Yep.
Nothing to narrate it. You just are supposed to infer the story from the character's actions.
Yep. So it looked pretty. We'll probably give it a go and see if it's good. But I like point and click adventure games. I just always find them to be a little bit dry. But some of these are actually pretty neat. Speaking of pretty neat, this one stood out to me, I think, well, maybe not the most. Spiritfarer is by far the most interesting of though that's less of an adventure game.
I don't need to compare them like that. Here.
But this one was cool. So this is Mutazione. Mutazione?
Mutazione?
Yeah.
Mutazione?
But so that's actually going to be coming out very soon. Like within the next couple weeks soon.
And it's about a girl whose grandfather seems to be ailing and he was a kind of gardener or planter.
But he has like special gardener powers, and she's on a kind of post-apocalyptic looking island filled with mostly not humans. But I got a very strong Night in the Woods vibe from it. You know, the characters who are dealing with the kind of their own internal struggles or external struggles. A lot of talking, a lot of like, you know, reacting to themselves or their environment, and it was really neat. And I liked the visual style and just kind of in general.
Yeah, it seemed to be the lineless... It almost looked like the cut paper stuff that you would see.
Yeah, but the environments were very pretty to wander through. So that was cool. What else do we have? Oh, I guess going back to Monster Prom for like a hot second, they had these to hand out. And so we got a cute little D&D Monster Prom.
They were supposed to look
postcard.
like Polaroids.
Yeah. But I thought that was pretty, so we grabbed it. Let's see. Speaking of, I feel like we're depleting this a little bit too fast, but then again, there are a lot of games that I didn't get stuff for, and that's okay. I don't know how this one got mashed up so much, but Young Souls...
It's a very thin piece of paper.
Yeah, it is a very thin promo thing, but Young Souls is actually really cool.
Yeah.
It's a 2D brawler. It's 3D-ish, but it looks 2D.
You're hovering yay way.
Yeah, 2.5D is the scroller. Specific style, but yeah, it is very much a traditional brawler. You know, you can go forward and back into the background as you fight enemies,
and it's a twin
do the same thing.
Brother and sister duo.
Yeah, you're fighting to save your father from these goblins that live in kind of this other side alternate dimension / like underground.
Yeah, they also have a little town underneath in the sewers.
And so the game is split up into days, and each day you can go to the town or the goblin town underneath
to train, to buy equipment.
Yeah, buy clothing, upgrade your weapons. And then at nighttime, you go into dungeons and you fight stuff. And that was really neat just because it was very stylish. And I don't usually touch brawlers. I know there's Streets of Rage 4 coming out, which we'll also probably play.
They did allude to the fact that you can actually form a rapport with a number of the characters in the town.
Yeah, so all of the characters that you could see in town looked really, really cool. And so... the kind of thing that we'd like to voice act. Plus, also, we don't get a whole lot of co-op games. We get a number, but, like, often...
It's nice to be able to play together.
Yeah, and so we're kind of looking forward to that, especially because there's a fair bit of build variety, so it's not just going to be like run up and button mash. Well, it kind of is, but still. Anyway,
speaking of a game we also want to play together, there's Haven.
Yep.
The artwork is beautiful, so I'm just going to show this. Made by the people that did Fury, which I know is a sore spot on your channel. I think you had to stop comments on your first episode of that or something.
I don't remember if I actually disabled comments on that video. But
maybe not.
Either I did or people
had a lot of people saying, get good.
So it's one of those where the game in its default state was too hard for me to enjoy. Just because I didn't enjoy...
It was just a series of boss battles.
Yeah, it was
very difficult.
I mean, it's famous enough. Most people probably know about it. What I love
about this is, so you're interacting with animals and adventuring around these like alien worlds, and there are a couple. There are already a couple, which is amazing. There are too many games in which you either have the tension of maybe the main protagonist becoming a couple at the end, or something along those lines, but you never actually see a full-fledged relationship, like. You don't see the aftermath. You don't see what their lives are like when they're already together.
And so this one actually has them doing coupley things together.
They cook.
Talking.
They tend to their home. They talk about their feelings. They glide around.
It looks very pretty, and considering it's coming from game bakers, it's probably going to be worth a try. I'm looking forward to it a lot.
It looks beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely gorgeous.
And I think you are cleansing creatures of some
there
kind
is
of
combat.
Taint. There is a little bit of combat. It looks turn-based? I couldn't say.
Yeah, it's kind of turn-based. I know there was like sort of like quick time events to do extra damage, and I know you'd like level up the more you do things together. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of interesting. And there are
combo attacks. Yeah. It just seems like a wonderful game for couples to play, and
yeah, so that means we actually get to do something together again. Let's see. Actually, speaking of, we don't have any mailers for it, but you were talking about dating sims and stuff. The only dating sim that I'm looking forward to is Boyfriend Dungeon.
Oh, right. You didn't get anything for it.
Because I got stuff from it last time, so I've already talked about it.
Yeah,
but
Boyfriend Dungeon was there too, probably.
Still cool. So we're going to kind of rapid fire because we got some other things to talk about. Got to check out Proteus, which is the OG kind of Doom-like.
Oh.
It's amazing. It plays a lot like Doom 2016, but it looks closer to something from the N64 PS1 era. Obviously, they've got, very old style visual design, old style level design. You're mostly wandering around trying to pick up key cards to unlock doors, turn on portals, fight bosses, so on and so forth. Whole bunch of different weapons, very visceral, very bloody, very punishing. But, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. And unfortunately, it's only going to launch with, 2 or 3 levels and the level designer, so it won't be so bad, but I prefer when these games have a little bit more content to them. At the same time, I played it for, half an hour and had an absolute blast, so, oh well. But Proteus is cool, and so if you like Doom, that's something to keep an eye on.
I didn't see this. What did you pick up here? Because I know that we were separated at some points where I would be adventuring on my own.
That is actually what reminded me of Boyfriend Dungeon. So Lucifer Within Us is, you'd think it would be something kind of gothic-ish, very religious, very gothic horror. It kind of is. It's sexy brutal.
You're a digital exorcist.
Yeah. So it's set up in the future in a sci-fi theocracy where everybody has cyber implants and whatnot.
Murders and purify the possessed.
Yeah, so effectively people are getting hacked and are being influenced to do horrible things, presumably murder. And so what you do is you go around talking to people, gathering clues, piecing together the mystery, and then finding out who the killer was.
Now, was this the one where if you make a wrong decision, it carries through?
No, that's
a
different
game that someone was telling us about? Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that sounds interesting. I love mysteries.
Yeah, and so that's the other game by Kit Fox. So they're the ones that are publishing Dwarf Fortress, making Boyfriend Dungeon, and also making Lucifer Within Us. And so I honestly, when I first heard about it, I was like, whatever, this sounds dumb. I like Shrouded Isle, but it wasn't that interesting for me, and I thought it was going to be kind of more in that same vein of cool simulator, but now it's solidly in the oh shoot, this actually looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's see, put that off for a bit, because that'll be the last thing we talk about. Let's see. Guess we should probably look
we'll
over those
also go through the merch.
Yeah, we got some merch. So the next one is called Death Bulge. I'd never heard of this game before.
Battle of the Bands.
But yeah, it's a turn-based... was it turn-based? It might have had an ATB gauge, but effectively it's a cursed battle of the bands to the death. And so...
Oh, we also didn't get to... There was another game involving music, too.
There's a couple. Oh, yeah, we never got to it. We ran out of time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well.
The name is...
Totally...
Nah, it starts with an N-O, doesn't it?
No Straight Roads.
No Straight Roads.
Yeah,
okay.
There we go. We meant to stop by that one. I also meant to stop by Brigador Killers, but my feet were so dead and I was so busy that by the time the last day...
an awful lot.
By the time the last day rolled around, it was... my feet still hurt. My ankles specifically.
They're hurting right now because we're standing up at the standing desk.
It's a lot easier to fit us in front of the camera while standing, and it's not so bad, but it's kind of one of those where it's like, I probably should have had my pedometer on, because I probably walked a solid, 20, 30 miles, maybe?
Because we could have taken the bus, but we often walked home at night because it was pleasant.
It was very pleasant, and very, very comfortable weather, especially in the evening, and it was very quiet, so we didn't have to worry about, other people. Okay, so last couple games on the list before we move on. There are a couple other ones that... we've already seen, but I might have already covered them, or I will cover them later. I guess we got a couple more. We should probably move that over.
We should probably move, some of the merch over.
Yeah. Let's see. I don't know. These are kind of more
Those
merchy
are more
things.
merchy things.
Yeah. Anyway, so another game, Plunge. This is actually going to be a game that I'm probably going to play today.
Oh, really? Is it already out?
Yeah. They actually handed me a key then and there at the convention, but they're another Portland game studio.
Okay.
And I'd heard of it before PAX, and I was like, oh, I need to reach out. But, holy crap, I just didn't have time. So they were very nice to just hand me a key when I was like, hey, yeah, I'm a streamer. I'd love to cover Plunge. But effectively, it's a more traditional roguelike turn-based. But you're, dashing around a grid, stabbing things, and then falling down.
Oh.
Progressive floors. It's neat. I'm curious to see how it goes, but as far as, roguelikes go, it seems simple and fairly fast-paced, which will be nice. And also, it's got kind of, a weird, gritty, punkish, design to it.
And you're also playing...
Speaking of Portland studios...
Correct, lady. And we got a pin, because you played the demo.
Yep. So, if you ever see Rose City Games at a gaming convention, if you play their demo and beat it, or even just play their demo...
Yeah, because they had this for
World Next Door
as well.
Yeah, these are the people that made World Next Door, helped on Dicey Dungeons, and are helping on another game called Garden Story.
Oh.
Which is kind of an old school Zelda game, but I'm not really sure. But Garden Story looks amazing. Cat Lady looks amazing. It's a roguelike, very much in the same vein as Binding of Isaac, but
it also has an aesthetic where it's all black backgrounds and then all the lines are colored.
Yeah,
right?
So it's striking if simple. But the cool thing about the game is you're
a young girl that's you go to your grandma's house and she has just...
It's a haunted mansion and you're trying to save your grandmother and everything is trying to kill you. So you huck cats at things.
And you have cats with different abilities and powers.
Yeah, so I started with... I don't even remember how it went, but effectively I picked up a shotgun cat and then got a rapid fire upgrade, an upgrade that made it so...
It's like a poof. I remember there being a ring of smog.
I don't even remember what upgrades I had. I think we'll be getting a demo soon, so that'll be kind of fun. But shotgun cat, rapid fire... the thing that makes it so your shots get bigger the further away they get from you, and also a scatter blaster thing that made everything kind of poof when they hit. And so effectively it looked like I was just farting cats left and right. And I just walked up next to the boss of the demo and it died in a couple of seconds.
There was also a robotic cat?
Yeah, you also get a robot cat that you could move around and it would shoot itself, but I could never get the controls right because there was no control guide, so I was just like, whatever. Mm-hmm. Everything dies when it's next to me anyway. I'll learn about this at a later date.
Yeah.
But as far as roguelikes go, it does the thing that I really like where every upgrade modifies your attack in some way, or at least many do.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that's so exciting because it's so much fun to see all the combinations, and looks like they're very committed to making every combination work, which is cool for me.
We also got to see the chicory people.
Yes.
And I didn't get anything chicory related, but I did pick up, they said that they were running out of these, but Wandersong.
Yep, so we got some official Wandersong merch, and got to talk with Greg Lobanov for a little while. He is a lot shorter than I was expecting him to be. I don't know, I was just expecting him to be randomly tall.
Well, it's always interesting when you see people in person.
And he was very colorful. So for people that don't know, chicory is...
Chicory, you're painting.
Yep. It's kind of Zelda-y, Metroidvania-y. Effectively, you are...
You're a young dog. Name is typically pizza, but...
We called her Curry.
Yeah, you choose a food. You're supposed to choose your favorite food, and we said curry. So that ended up being her name. You
inherit a magic paintbrush and have to bring color back to the world.
The former bearer of it disappeared mysteriously.
Yeah.
And then... her mentor disappears.
Yeah. So something really bad is going on, and you, the kind of wildly underexperienced but overly exuberant...
You were originally just the janitor for her, right?
Yep.
Sweeping up the floors.
Pretty much. You have to bring color back into the world and also save everybody. And it just looks like such an adorable game. We backed it on Kickstarter. It's still on Kickstarter if you want to go check it out.
We played the demo?
Yeah, we played the demo.
And you kickstarted it at the tier where you get to actually design some clothing for the character.
I think I might be the only one currently, but...
I think it's a hat or an outfit so long as it doesn't cover her arms. I think those were the stipulations.
Yep.
So we'll have to design that at some point. I mean, I don't know. It might be, what, do you think it's another year until the game will be released or so? Or how
2020, 2021, somewhere in there. It's going to take a little while. I'm not going to rush them.
It's awfully cute, and we loved Wandersong, so...
Yep, but so that'll be fun. And then, I guess one event, let's talk about it generally, and then we can talk about this game. So, apart from just going to the convention and meeting up with people and so on and so forth, we also got to go to several parties. I was talking about, probably shouldn't put my hands on the table. Apart from the convention, there are also parties afterwards for networking purposes.
We got to go to the Mixer, the Forest, was it called Indie Forest?
It was the Mix, Indie Forest, and then the Polish party. I don't know how much I can talk about the Polish party.
What do you mean by you don't know how much?
I don't know if it's hush-hush. I don't think it is. People have talked about it plenty. But effectively, a bunch of Polish devs put on a party.
Yeah, they're the ones behind Children of Morta and a number of other games.
Children of Morta.
Frostpunk.
Yeah. CD Projekt Red helped sponsor it, and they had their PR guy there and a couple other things. But mainly, it's just a party for a bunch of media people to hang out. So I got to meet... I guess very specifically, I got to meet some Mixer streamers, Badger, a Terraria speedrunner who is very cool, one of the members of Treesicle, a couple other people, lots of people, a sound engineer that went into alligator pits.
I got to meet a lady that worked for Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah. And then there were other people like Terry Kavanagh and whatnot that were hanging out, but I was very tired because this is the end of the third night and I could barely stand. And then my voice was dying. If you go back and watch my Astral Chain videos, you can hear what my voice sounded like by the end of
It's because
PAX.
Some of the parties were better than others when it came to music. But if the music is so loud that you can't hear each other over it and you're yelling to be heard, then of course you're going to lose your voice.
So the Mix was... we got invited to the Mix by... I guess Stump told us about it, / also Raw Fury, who was helping sponsor the party, but effectively was... rows upon rows of tables, much like the convention. It was a really nice one.
I liked it because they had 2 stories, but they had a nice table set up for every single game, ample room for controllers, the television. It didn't seem very crowded, but maybe that's because we got there early.
It wasn't very crowded by the time we left.
Everyone got a little ticket for one drink.
Yep. And then they had free food. And mainly, you could wander around talking to other media people. It was on the second floor. It might have disappeared.
I think it must have, because I didn't see it.
It didn't last long. Either that or went outside.
Yeah, there was an outdoor balcony area, but we didn't
spend too much time with it. But it very much was like a place for us to talk much more personally with developers and much more personally with, I guess, media people as well.
Yeah, we got to talk with some of the developers behind Haven and pretty much all the games that you had brought flyers for.
Yeah, and a couple more. I guess I didn't really talk about Sparklight, because they didn't give me a business card this time around because I already had it. But Sparklight's another roguelike that I'm really excited for, and that'll be out in a couple of months.
What was that one with the robot people? Or they're like heavily armored and it was post-apocalyptic.
Oh,
Memory, something memory. Forgotten memory? No wonder is looking it up.
Yeah, I gotta clear things. There are too many. The mix. Here we go. I actually have the whole list here.
Oh, okay.
Under many other tabs, unless they've...
I want to know what that Japanese game
there we
they
go.
had there
was. We can see it. Okay, so... specifically the game... Yeah, they actually had a lot of games that we didn't get to check out.
Superliminal.
They had Atomic Crops there, which is cool.
Spirit Fair
was there.
Seen.
Let's see. Some of these I didn't see, but that's okay. Going Under I didn't see.
Raji I think I saw from a distance.
Yeah, there were just too many games to get through, and it's a bit of a problem.
Yeah, Cat Lady.
Come on, where is it? Not that. Not Out of Space. Bravery Network Online looks cool.
Looked cute.
Kunai. Kunai is a cool-looking Metroidvania that we got to try.
Oh, you got to try it at the booth with the
Young Souls at the same time. That was a neat-looking game. You're like a samurai soul that's inhabited a robot, and you're fighting against...
It was like a television screen or something.
Yeah.
Like, everyone seemed to have screens for faces, but it was interesting because at one point, Wander had gotten these two kunai that made chains, and he didn't know what to do with them. I go... Shouldn't you pull down on the stick?
You could hook on two walls at once and actually slingshot yourself upwards. It looks like a very competent Metroidvania, and it was very cute, and it was very responsive. Anyway, so the game you're trying to remember is Some Distant Memory.
Some Distant Memory.
About...
what about that? What was the VR game, though? It's somewhere in there.
You mean this one?
Yeah.
Heck if I remember. You want to look through it?
I'll look at it.
But yeah, to go back to my thing about Sparklight, it's an old school Zelda-like, much like Link to the Past, Link's Awakening and whatnot. And there's like a pretty strong meta progression system to it too, where you get the resource Sparklight, you bring it back up to town, and you can upgrade the town itself, or you can also buy like patches that you slot in onto your onto like a grid, and some are 2x2, some are 3x3, most are 1x1. Okay, we can talk about that in a second. But that'll be out in a couple of months, and I'm super stoked for it because it looks like one of the better roguelikes coming out. And it's also not coming out early access, which means I just get to sink my teeth into it and have fun.
Is that one multiplayer?
Yes, that is. So the person that plays as effectively, the Link analog. I don't actually know what the main character's name is. They're doing all the fighting and whatnot. And the robot flies around and helps. But can't be hit, can't do anything.
Okay, so it's that kind of co-op where...
Yeah, so fun, should be easy, it shouldn't take too long for us to beat, and because it's got the meta progression system, it's not infinite, there is a definitive ending. So I'm looking forward to that just because...
We're going to talk about this one before we go on to the VR stuff?
And I guess the last thing before we get into VR, because that's a thing...
Oh, but we also have all the merchandise.
We've got other stuff. But there's another game called, let's see... What is the game? Ambrosia? It is Ambrosia. It's a Metroidvania where you get to modify your weapons in different ways, like slot in different abilities and, go from double shot, triple shot, wildfire, rapid fire. And there's like 20 different weapons too that behave differently. It's very much still in development, but it looked cool. The level design was kind of rough, but the actual like combat and running around was very solid, so I'm kind of looking forward to that.
They said that they were still work in progress.
Yeah.
Doing more with it.
But that was not actually at PAX. They just kind of had it there, and so it's like, oh, this looks really cool.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And so now we're going to be going on. So we'd always been apprehensive about ever getting a VR headset and stuff because it's a very expensive device, and you don't know if it's going to be a fad because you had the Kinect and you had the Wii and motion controls.
Yeah.
And VR is one of those things where you don't know if it will have the longevity, but it seems like there have been a number of games that are coming out for it that would actually interest us.
Yeah, a couple of generations have gone by. A lot of good games have finally started to come out that actually look nice, perform well. The hardware seems to have stabilized a little bit. And, there's obviously upgrades going along and things are getting better. But neither of us had really had the opportunity to play anything on VR before, just because we didn't know anybody with a set and we never went to a place that had one.
And it was Maybe I was more receptive to the ones at the center because I think no one had really come in to play them yet. So I didn't feel bad about putting a VR headset on that maybe was only lightly used or had been recently cleaned. Yeah. Whereas the ones on the floor at the convention
probably pretty gross. Like we saw one dude that was just specifically for one of these games, like he was wailing at it, and he was.
I mean, you can really get into it. Maybe it'll be a good exercise.
Oh, it'll be great exercise, I'm sure.
But so what I tried there was the Witching Tower Heroes, and I don't have a business card for them, but they gave temporary tattoos,
which is kind of fun.
So the premise of it is you're
defending a
crystal against what primarily seem to be undead.
Yeah.
And you have, at the beginning, a choice of weapons. And they had like a pistol, a weird drill thing, various types of swords and daggers. But I gravitated towards the bow because I love archery. The one unfortunate thing was, when I was selecting it, you have the two controllers. I picked it up with my right hand and I realized, oh no. I'm a right-handed person.
She shoots bows southpaw.
Wait, no, I don't.
Oh, wait, no, yeah. No. They had it set up so it was southpaw, which is very confusing.
Right, because when you're a right-handed person, you aim with your left and you draw the bow back with your right, and it's opposite. So I picked up the bow with my right hand, and I go, oh, is there any way for me to switch hands so that the devs were like, oh no, we don't know, we haven't implemented that yet, but we'll definitely do it later. So they just told me to switch the controllers, which unfortunately meant that my left would have been to help with turning and moving. My right hand would have been for panning, because you can only pan so much with the VR headset. But so I was probably hindered a little bit by that, but I loved the feeling of drawing back, and you saw the headshots I was getting. Mm-hmm. I was having a blast. I really loved using the bow in that game. So yeah, fun, basic. Probably, I don't know if you got upgrades as you went along after you defeated the waves, or if it was just to see how long you can survive.
I hope they have upgrades, just because I love upgrades in these games that make your gameplay more wild.
That in part sold me a bit on VR, and you couldn't get it over your head for some reason.
It wouldn't fit around my glasses, and I didn't want to figure out adjusting it, so I was like,
and it was
whatever.
Weird because I thought that if you were nearsighted, it would have looked fine, but...
Yeah, I'm surprised, but there must be a reason for it.
But the game that was also something that pushed us towards it is there's this... I suppose you can bring up that. There's Until You Fall. These are what some of the enemies look like. They're really cool.
Yep, but it's a roguelike. Honestly, it plays like how Skyward Sword probably wanted to be. You have to do horizontal, vertical, whatever, slashes, parries, and so on and so forth. Looks like a really cool game. And it's
very bright and beautiful. It's not a dull, gray fantasy world. It seems like everything is overgrown with some kind of bioluminescent plant life, and
it just looks pretty. And so that was kind of that was actually kind of the moment where I said, you know what? Maybe it would actually be worth getting a VR headset.
Oh, we're not bringing it out now. Oh,
we're not?
Were we going to show any of the other merch?
we're bringing it out now.
Oh, but the thing is
Okay, fine. We bought some other stuff real quick, or got some other stuff real quick.
Okay, so from our friends at Arcade Spirits, they gave us one of their pins.
Yep, just a little Space Invader. Let's see, from our friends at, I guess on the Astroneer dev team, they gave us a pair of Astroneer patches, and also had given me a backpack and stuff. I was wearing the Astroneer backpack around the convention.
We will need to wash it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we had gone out to eat Thai food.
I put leftovers in there, and they were not kind to it, unfortunately.
Yeah,
well, I'm not done yet, but I was just walking around with the backpack, and people were like, hey, where'd you get the Astroneer backpack? And I'm like...
It was mailed to you, especially.
Yep. We'll go back to that at some point. Just very busy.
I got a number of things from... Fangamer's a really nice...
Yeah, Fangamer had a lot of... They always have a booth at these conventions, and they always usually have kind of the best stuff, so we picked up a couple of things.
And so one of the games that we really like... What? Where are you going?
Keep going.
Okay. So one of the games that we really enjoyed last year was Greece. And so I had to get some pins for that. That's specifically the little robot that I believe helps you in one of the forest levels. And then there's the main character. And they're just really pretty. It was a nice set. to have together. I have a little cork board that I'm starting to assemble a number of pins on, and I might actually have to open this one up so I can show what it is, but everyone knows I love Mist to death. It was one of the first...
If I hold it up, I can probably get it so it doesn't have the reflection here.
No. I need to open it because this thing opens. Remember? Okay. It's the linking book. So I absolutely love Mist. It was one of the first things that really got me into PC gaming back when I was not even like 4 or 5 years old. My father got the originals that were available. I think
not near the microphone.
Sorry. And so I have my own Let's Play series of the entire Mist series, but Wander should play them at some point because this is my childhood.
Probably over the winter.
Yeah, so this is the pin for Mist, one of the pins that they have. I think they also have the Falling Man, which is the main protagonist. But what I love about this is the premise of Mist is that you travel to other worlds' ages through these books. And let me open it up. Hopefully it opens more easily. Yeah.
Oh, that's what you meant when you said it opens.
Yes. Oh, it's very, very tough. The hinge is on this thing. Woo-wee! So it opens up, and then you get to see the linking panel, and it shows a little silhouette of Mist Island. Sorry,
my poor webcam sucks.
That looks like it's in focus, but
I need a new webcam and/or camera setup because my current setup is
after
garbage.
Opening it for the first time, it looks like Mist. I love Mist.
Yep.
And so they've been actually, because of the 25th anniversary, they're having more merchandise. Other random things I got. I love dice. There's so many dice sellers at PAX now. I think just the rise of tabletop gaming has really informed a lot of shops.
Between halls A and floor.
They had a whole
4th floor. They had a connecting like skyway, and the entire right side was just nothing but dice.
They had there are so many expensive dice sets too that are made out of malachite and opalite and wood and blue goldstone and a whole bunch of other materials, just really pretty ones.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of boxes, a lot of play mats, a lot of magic cards were also, but yeah, so, and they even had a whole separate building dedicated to tabletop gaming. The really nice like wormwood tables that open up and everything, and board games galore. But I decided to get this. There was a Chessex dice set that I always wanted to get. My personal one is like sort of part red and part purple. It's really pretty. But I always wanted to get the magenta like glittery ones, but they discontinued it and they're hard to find. But I found out that they came out with another variety that it's it's the magenta gold glow, but some parts of it ended up being purple because it's mixed with blue. So it's a pretty dice. I just wanted to get something larger. It's cute. Let's see. And then I have a number of ocarinas, but the most recent ocarina that I had gotten was one of the ones where it's 4 holes on the top and 2 holes on the bottom. So it's not like a 12-hole ocarina where the fewer fingers that you have down, the higher the pitch. You actually have to switch up the fingers. Like you can have 2 up, and it's a really weird system for playing. But I decided to get one of these from Songbird Ocarina. They're a really nice ocarina maker. And so this will help me with some of the I suppose you'd call it fingerings.
Yep.
For the PC.
Yep.
Just a lot of fun. They had a lot of people playing the ocarinas there, and it was really nice to hear over the din.
Yeah. Between Tetris music, they were very close to some major like sound one. Beats and Shapes, I think it might have been.
Okay.
Anyway, so we also tried. We like to buy gaming shirts. This is a Shovel Knight from Fangamer.
At every gaming convention, we like to get one T-shirt.
Yeah, I like to get one shirt per convention because it's kind of fun to remember them by. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
These ones were a little stinky. They were from a different, I think, 4 games.
Yeah, for fans by fans.
Yeah, and they have a lot of Guild Wars 2 stuff, and I love Guild Wars.
And I got a Slime Rancher shirt.
Whoop.
They're both fairly pretty, kind of stinky. The print quality is, hopefully they'll hold up. I like these where it's actually like dyed into the fabric because this will never.
Oh yeah, but
this shirt is going to die before the print is. Well, Fangamer has this kind specifically. I'm just shilling out for them because I like their stuff.
But we did
these are going to crack.
I've been looking at this for years.
Yeah, so as you might know, I'm a huge
Hollow
Knight fan, and so we finally shelled out the money for the Hollow Knight hoodie.
Yep, so it has this on the back, and then this is sort of along the front chest.
Yep.
Why don't you put it on?
And then,
just to show.
Well, I did turn down the heat in here. But it's a fairly light hoodie. It's very soft. I like it a lot.
Just to have a nice light jacket for going out and about.
And really cool thing about it is, let's see.
Yeah, it has even additional printing along one of the sleeves down here too.
Yep.
Which is an interesting feature. We got it in medium so that I could wear it and it'd be slightly baggy, and so that he can wear it and have it slightly tight.
Yep. And also kind of hard to see from this angle, but instead of the usual zipper, it's got the nail.
The nail.
As the as the pull thing. Man,
the pull tab.
Yeah, pull tab.
Mm-hmm. So yep, that was pretty much the extent of our
shopping excursions and business cards and everything. There are a lot of other games that I haven't even talked about, but honestly, I guess I might be able to pull something up to look at it real quick, to just see what games we had. But those are the ones that really stood out to us. There's a ton more, and I'm sure I've forgotten about like a bunch of really cool things. But honestly, I'm gonna get to cover them anyway, so that's fine. And I don't know, just a lot of stuff to look forward to, as far as I'm concerned.
Though there is one thing that he's looking forward to. Why don't you bring it over? Are we having it separate, or are we going to include it?
This? Yeah, I mean, straight up, PAX made us buy one of these things. So...
It is the Oculus Rift S.
Yep.
Looks really fancy.
We'd considered an HTC Vive, but we'd actually stopped by the booth for the Until You Fall people, and we're like, hey... what VR headset should we get? And they're like, Rift S, 100%. And we're like, cool.
And I think I'd also played on a Rift when we were doing the Witching Tower.
So, if people like VR enough from me, I might actually pick up the other set at some point.
There are
just
exclusives.
To compare.
Is it? This one is, I mean, I think the other one is owned by Valve.
Yeah.
Vive.
I'm not a big fan of Facebook, but right now, I'll bite the bullet for this just because... but it's kind of one of those where, like we said, we've never done VR before. We didn't have the setup. We didn't have the space for it. And so this is kind of an unboxing without much of the box.
Whoa!
But then again, there's not a whole lot in here. Let's see.
Yeah, so these are the controllers. They're really interesting. I think, do they have these cones specifically so that they can sense angle?
Yeah, I do not know. I don't know how this tech works, but it's cool, it's interesting, and yeah, there's enough content out there to justify it on my end. So we got this. And yeah, we've got enough space either behind me or down in the living room that we can definitely get some kind of proper VR setup, which I'm looking forward to.
Feel really nice.
And really, is this it?
I don't see any other cables or instructions.
Okay. Oh.
Maybe in there.
Sounds like paper in there. But so here's the VR headset itself.
Yeah, these are a bunch of booklets.
We tried to actually pick it up at Best Buy.
But they were sold out.
But they were totally sold out, so we just ordered a bunch from Amazon along with a new hard drive for the computer that we're recording to right now. So my new computer works too, by the way, for people that might be wondering.
Yeah, fun. And it was actually really comfortable.
Yep. Let's see. So we're going to have to...
the sensor on the top?
Heck if I know. I know nothing.
There's a bunch of sensors.
Yeah, I don't know. Might be how it determines rotation. We will find out at some point. I don't think I'm going to be able to get this set up for...
Not tonight.
A day or two.
You're not going to be able to play Until You Fall?
My schedule is a nightmare.
Oh, I know. He has so many games coming out.
I have too many games currently out, and it's kind of hard to get through them all. So, within the next couple days, expect us to do a VR stream, or at least part of a stream is VR.
We probably won't be capturing, like, the external view of Wander swinging his arms around and stuff. We'll probably first have just the game itself.
We also have to make sure that we can even record audio when wearing this thing. Because
that's a good thing.
It might not be easy to get a mic near it. Because obviously I can't use this thing. Because if I'm going to be rotating and stuff, the audio quality would be bad.
They usually have like a head.
Yeah, I've got a headset mic that might work, but I don't know if I can fit it around the VR set. So if that doesn't work, I'll buy a mod mic or something. I'll see how that works. But either way, we got a VR headset now, and so that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to all the exercise you might get from it. I don't really know if it's really that intensive to.
It is. It very much is. There are exercise channels that specifically catalog how many calories they burned
with things like Beat Saber and the like. It's very impressive when you see the Beat Saber people. He's just putting components away. Here's the other controller. So yeah, had a lot of fun. Got to meet a lot of developers and other streamers and...
Yep, got to hang out with D-Mart from Raw Fury for a while and told us about the history of it. Let's see, what else did we do? We had a lovely lunch with Chimeric from Nova Drift.
We got to talk about Thailand.
Yeah, because apparently he lives in Bangkok, which is kind of cool. And we had really expensive Thai food, but it was good. I do this thing where if I know somebody lives in an area, I actually invite them to food from that region.
Well, really, we had just stumbled upon that Thai place last year, and we really enjoyed it.
It's called Noi Thai in downtown Seattle. I'm sure there's a better place for anybody that's local. It's within walking distance
of the convention, but it has a view of the water if you...
It's very pretty. It's pretty high class. The food is really good. It's very expensive.
They came out with this curry, and they were like having the meat done in the iron
They brought
pot,
out like the iron pot. It's hot, everything's sizzling. Then they pour in the curry, which starts boiling really fast, and then give you the rice. And like I got pineapple fried rice that came in a pineapple, so it was pretty good. There was also a Lebanese place called Mamnoon that we got to eat at that was really good too.
Food tourism. Oh, but we can't forget the Supergiant Games concert.
Yeah. So Saturday night, second night of the convention, we kind of didn't have a whole lot to do. There were no parties that day that we cared about. There was apparently a Twitch and a Facebook party, but we didn't go to either because, like, who cares? Well, I mean, I'm a Twitch partner.
Invited, but...
Yeah, it's weird. I'm a Twitch partner, but they don't talk to me ever, including invites to anything, which is kind of annoying, but...
But we absolutely love Supergiant Games, and we didn't really know what to expect. We were just like, oh, live concert. Does that mean the singers are going to be there? And, an orchestra and such. And it was a really beautiful theater.
It's the like Paramount Theater in downtown Seattle. It is very much an old school opera theater, 2 floors.
We got to go up to the second story, and we had a nice view. And it was interesting because everyone comes on stage and they're introducing themselves, and the conductor comes up and...
I'm like, hey, it's Austin Wintory. And Shell's like, no, it ain't.
Wait, I'm like, well, no, I didn't refute. I'm just like, wait, really? Can you check that?
You definitely, no, you were
I
saying,
didn't want you to check it because everyone was on their phones, and it was just, I don't
but
like phones in theaters.
I checked it real quick, and he's like, yeah, I have this great honor of being the conductor for Supergiant Live, and I'm like, yes.
And it was really fun watching. I mean, I was in orchestras and such, so it was nice seeing all of the instruments assembled, and then just him conducting. It was
cool. He's a very good conductor. He's got very good stage presence too.
They had a lot of banter between them.
Yeah,
because it was Darren.
Yeah, Darren Korb and Austin Wintory would sass each other a little bit. And it was kind of fun. And there was like a small child that was like, "I love you, Daddy," specifically to Darren Korb. And
he was in the middle.
Everybody was like, "Aw!" And then Austin Wintory's like, "The best part is that's not even his kid." It was great. But effectively, I think there's a VOD of it on Twitch. I hope it's still there. I can even put in the description.
And one thing I absolutely loved is that they really did sound exactly like they did in all the soundtracks.
No auto tuning, no nothing. Like they really did sound like how they sound on that soundtrack. And so they did a lot of songs from Transistor. Which is just a testament
to how wonderful they are.
A lot of songs from Transistor, a lot of songs from Pyre, one song from Hades.
Oh, maybe I think there were 1 or 2. No, just one.
Just one from... It was just the dude who couldn't turn around. Yeah, Orpheus's Lament or whatever it's called. But mostly it was Transistor, which kind of makes sense because that was very much the operatic one. But it was just such a...
jazzy.
Yeah, true. But it was just such an absolutely wonderful thing.
They had these beautiful slideshows going along with it of all... I think they actually pointed out the guy that had made all the animations for it.
Yeah, so they had all the animations kind of preset, and the dude would mix them in with a live feed. It was cool. But so it was like an hour, I think. which is very pretty.
And it was interesting because I think Darren had said along the lines of he's so used to having his whole composing experience being
just on a computer by himself.
Computer and everything. So it was nice to they had to take some time to put everything to an orchestral accompaniment.
Yeah, because some of them most definitely were not orchestral originally.
Mm-hmm. And then the last song
was effectively a mashup of like half the songs from Bastion.
Mm-hmm.
And it was such a good experience because I was sitting there being like, oh, come on, give me at least one Bastion song. Because Bastion is probably my favorite Supergiant game just because...
And I think you played it before you started your channel, right?
Yeah, I played it on launch. Like, launch day. It came out. I was staying at her parents' house. And I bought it immediately because I'm like, holy crap, this game is gorgeous. You know, I want to play this. And I played it in one sitting. From like 10 until 4 in the morning, I think. I was pretty tired the next day. But it was absolutely worth it because it was gorgeous. And yeah, it was that... Braid and Aquaria that made me think like, yeah, maybe I should get into game design and stuff, which I absolutely failed at, and now I'm here, but still, it's kind of one of those where I have a very soft spot in my heart for Bastion specifically, and so I'm very much going to play it someday.
And the music is such an integral part of games.
It is so good.
And it was gorgeous, and it was wonderful to see them live. Unfortunately, afterwards, they're like, oh yeah, we're going to have some merchandise and some signings. And the lines were, it was so crazy. We were upstairs, and if we had stayed upstairs, we possibly could have gotten in line sooner, but we went all the way down and around, and then they were pushing people back.
So effectively, there were 2 branches of the line, and they were like, that one branch needs to go. You guys go this way. Nope, you guys go this way. Nope, you guys go this way.
They weren't probably planning on
They had no planning, no organization, or whatever. So we went from being maybe 20 minutes to get to the signing to an hour or 2. Purely because nobody was organized enough for this beforehand, and the security guards were obviously, they didn't care about what place we were in, so they just shunted us to the back. And so we were on the 3rd floor, signing was on the 1st floor, and it was like snaking around several staircases and stuff, and it was just like...
We didn't have anything on us, so it would have been terrible if we got there and we didn't have any, like, they didn't have anything left to purchase to sign. Maybe in the future... Maybe in the future. They seem to love the experience. It was their 10-year anniversary.
Yeah. I love Supergiant. I don't really care for most of their merch. I have one Bastion t-shirt, and that's enough for me.
They really could merchandise.
They really could. They've got a lot of really gorgeous art, and they could do some rad things with it, but they haven't. So someday when they have cool merch, I might try and get it signed. Or maybe at some point I can actually contact them and be like, hey, you know, can I like tour your studio at some point? And maybe bring something along to get signed. Because I could see it happening at some point. I'm sure a developer would be like, sure, fine, you're in the area. We'll just let you like walk around and shake some hands.
I think a fun thing, too, was Wintry had pointed out that one of the ladies in the orchestra played about 9 different woodwind
9 different woodwinds. They made a joke that she flew here on a magic ship made out of all of them. But she was the soloist from Ori and the Blind Forest.
Mm-hmm. And she was switching out various instruments.
Yeah, she was hot swapping between them. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, it was just such a lovely experience. If you ever are in the area of a Journey Live or a Supergiant Live or pretty much anything from these people,
there's been a number of Zelda ones and a number of Final Fantasy ones that have come about when they actually have the orchestra set up and touring.
Speaking of Final Fantasy. We should probably talk about the couple of games that we don't have merch for, but we should probably talk about before we're done.
Yes, we did get to play the demos.
So, like I said, forgot about a number of things that we didn't have physical media for because it's easier to forget, just because of how much we covered. But so the last thing, I think, before we're done, pretty much, we got to do some private showings for specifically Square Enix and 505 Games. 505 Games was Indivisible, which looks like it's going to be as good as it looks, which is nice. I've played it at both PAX East and West. There's a lot of dust just flying in here.
Yes.
It's a problem. Anyway, but so Indivisible looks great. And the other game that they had me do, and they kind of not yanked me around a little bit, but effectively, I was scheduled from noon to 1, but they didn't write me down on anything but one schedule, so only one of the 505 people knew I was even going to be there. So I show up and they're like, yeah, you're not on the list, but sure, we'll stick you on Indivisible when everybody else is done. Which sucked, because they were busy. They had people there and were going to be there for a while, and so the lady's like, you're not on the list.
But did you found someone else who had you on the list?
So I'm sitting there like 10 minutes late to the meeting that I'm supposed to be queued in for. They've slotted other people in instead of me, and I'm kind of mad because it's just like, you know, what am I supposed to do? I've just been forgotten, and this is just kind of a snub because I'm very busy and I'm very tired, and I don't want to just stand around for a meeting that might...
Did you at least explain to them that you were put back in line?
I got frustrated, and I'm just like... Because it was a private media thing. So it wasn't that I was behind random people. I was behind other media people, so I couldn't, like, get mad at the people in front of me, or mad that I wasn't getting, like, pushed to the front, because very much this is only for media. So... I get frustrated, I wander off because the person working that side was just clearly disinterested in getting me into anything or like helping me figure out. And, you know, they're like, well, we made a mistake, but whatever. And so I get mad and I wander off to the other side, which was, so it was Indivisible on one side and Journey to the Savage Planet on the other side. I get there and they were just finishing up, and with like some other streamer who was talking to them and stuff, and they had like a camera and whatnot, and I'm like, you know, the streamer walks off and I'm like, hey, I'm here, and he just walks straight past me, just looks me dead in the eyes, and then just keeps going, even though I'm like trying to talk to him, and I'm just like, oh, it was like, I know he was busy, and this is like third day of the convention, so he's probably quite just out of it, but I was just so mad. And then I turn the corner, and one of the media people is like, oh, you're Wanderbot. You're supposed to be here, you know, like 10 minutes ago. And I'm like, I was here.
Is it because you're wearing your shirt?
No.
No.
It's just, you know, I was supposed to be there, and so I was the only person that looked lost. Because I was lost, because they'd only written me down on one of the 5 schedules of the schedules they had around. And only one guy knew I was supposed to be there, and I was, you could very much see that I was a footnote on the list. Because I guess they hadn't added me. I think I responded kind of late. Yeah. Which is my fault, but it was very much like it took me like 15 minutes to finally sit down for this, and I was pretty pissed off by this point. And I realized, like, this is just what happens with conventions, but I was just like, come on! So I finally sit down for Journey to the Savage Planet, and it's a really good game. Mm-hmm. It's a 2-person, I think, Metroidvania made by ex-AAA devs from people that worked on, like, Fallout and stuff. And so it's very tongue-in-cheek, and it's very colorful and very bright. And I just punched a boob.
I mean, more like a tap.
Still, I gotta stop doing that.
I mean...
I used to do it in high school, where, like, we'd be hanging out, and I'd be, like, with a lab partner in chemistry, and I just, like, punch my lab partner's boob. I punched 3 out of 4 of my lab partner's boobs. Just because...
Why aren't even that substantial? No. I don't know.
I don't know. It's a curse. Question mark.
I'm just gonna...
Yeah, defend yourself. It's good. Anyway, so Journey to the Savage Planet is first-person Metroidvania. You get, like, double jump, triple jump. Use your abilities to solve areas, traverse environments. It's got a tongue-in-cheek narrator. And you're like, to upgrade your health, for example, you find, like, a weird egg pod. You just grab a scoop of it and just mash it onto your visor and just somehow suck it through the filters. It looks stupid, and I can't wait to play it. And it's co-op, so I get to play it with her, which will be fun.
Sorry, I'm yawning.
We're almost done.
We've been here for a while.
And the last thing, yeah, we've been here for an hour and 20 minutes. That's
an hour?
A lot. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This is why I'm like brevity, especially with things that don't matter. Speaking of things that actually, well, don't matter, do matter. So the last thing that I might as well mention, seeing as it's kind of a hot topic, is we got to go to the Square Enix private showing of Final Fantasy VII, which apparently is actually the wrong way to do it. Because if you actually lined up for it, you get harassed by Turks. They had professional actors that were pretending to be Turks from Final Fantasy VII to harass people and, like, question you and so on and so forth, and apparently it was quite rad.
Yeah, it was very quiet and low-key. They had a bunch of computers set up and
it was just
headsets.
It was just a quiet, comfortable room where you could quietly play the Final Fantasy VII and Trials of Mana demos. And I don't know how much I can talk about. I probably could talk about the whole thing, but like, suffice to say,
you're really liking the battle system.
I really like the battle system. I really liked the visuals. The cutscenes were good. I'm hoping the English voice acting is good because the Japanese voice acting was good. The interplay between Barrett and Cloud was actually really solid. The music was amazing. The boss fight against the guard mech in the very beginning is really good. And yeah, that battle system, it feels like a Final Fantasy game. After Final Fantasy IX, I kind of lost the script on Final Fantasy because they kept changing it. It didn't really have the same, like, feel. 10 was nice and turn-based and had some cool things that you could do. 12 was kind of interesting, but very much a departure. I'd never played 13. I think 13 was actually like 10 too.
I mean, the interesting thing with 13, I only remember seeing the very beginning of it back in college when there were some guys down the floor that were playing it and people were gathering around the TV to see what it was like. And it was just run down the hall, cutscene, cutscene, cutscene.
And this kind of was the same. It wasn't so many cutscenes, but it was very linear. But maybe it'll get more tremendous as we go along. But no, it just felt like a Final Fantasy game. It had the same kind of pacing. You did button mash a little bit, and you could block, and apparently you could dodge. I never figured out the dodge button because they didn't tell me about it, so I was just blocking and just dodging manually by running around the environment, which works freakishly well. I was not expecting that, but it really did feel good. All of the abilities were fun.
With a buffet thing?
Yeah, they had free food and sodas.
We didn't know about that, but we got soda from him.
Yeah.
And tea. You got tea.
The tea was not... It was iced tea, but it was unsweetened, which was like... And the soda was diet...
I hadn't had a Mountain Dew in a long time, Mountain Dew. So I figured I'd try it.
Diet Mountain Dew is gross. I don't know how people can drink that stuff. But... We regretfully grabbed drinks because we were thirsty, and then we went on, but... I know a lot of people are like, is Final Fantasy VII going to be good or not? And like, my impressions are very, very positive. I just hope they manage to make the story work as well as it did back then.
And recently they had also released the remaster of 8, right?
Yes, which we have, and we will play at some point.
Well, we have to do the thank you, Square Enix, for... Okay.
Yep. Technically, we have to do that with like every game, but that sucks.
Oh,
and
right,
I'm not going to do it until
Oninaki.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that until somebody drops the hammer and is like, "You need to do that with every game," and I'm going to be like, "Oh god damn, I don't want to do that." Anyway,
at that point, you would just have something more blatant on the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, instead of just saying it every 15 minutes, I'm probably just going to adopt the bottom bar of like, "This was provided by so and so," and that'll just be it. But hopefully, it'll never come to that because that would suck. Anyway. So, this has been our PAX impressions, PAX preview, PAX whatever the heck, and
also a kind of preview of what's to come, considering many of these games are coming out later this year, early next year.
Most of them are coming 2020. I was asking a lot of developers, when's it coming? And they're like, 2020, and I'm like, yep,
But there are some things that are out now, and some of them are going to be VR, and we're going to have so much fun trying it out.
Yeah.
You better try that out soon.
We'll get it set up. I gotta figure out if I can even get it or if I have to move my computer around, because I might have to move my computer to the other side. Anyway. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, if you ever do go to a PAX East or West...
we didn't see anyone this time, did we?
Yeah, nobody flagged us down, but that's okay. I wasn't trying very hard to be found. But yeah, if you do find us, say hi, because we were there. Anyway, I guess with that, like I was saying, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Awkward reach for end button.